There we go. Oh, sorry. How are all you beautiful ladies doing? Listen, sisters, you've been on my mind. That's how that song began. That is actually one of my favorite songs of all time and one of my favorite movie clips of all time, right? My name is Chef Derrick Green. Some people call me the Waffle Man. I am a cook of soul food. Hopefully, in the next 25 minutes, I can touch your soul and feed you a little bit. I'll tell you my speaking style. I like to speak off the cuff. I'm an extemporaneous speaker. Big word, look at that multisyllabic word I just threw out there. Try to sound all fancy. Just means I like to speak from the heart. If y'all don't mind, every now and then I'll look back at the laptop to make sure I'm staying on track with this thing. And I've been following some powerful speakers, and I didn't know Chad was going to come up here and bring the house down like that. So let's do this thing. I will tell you now that I have on socks that say, I'm not for everybody. I'm just going to be clear on this. My name is Derrick Green, Chef Derrick Green. I'll feed anybody, but I'm not for everybody. Just put that out there. I share this video again because it's one of my favorite clips. And in that clip, there's a moment where you see her look. You see Suge Avery look. That's from The Color Purple, by the way, the original Color Purple. But you see her look at her guitar player, and there's no words exchanged. She heard something. She heard something within. And she gave him a look, and he understood it. Have you guys ever given somebody a look or received a look and you understood that something was happening there? There you go. That's what's happening to me. Now, prior to 2023, you would never hear me say God. You would hear me say things like the creator, the universe, the hand that guides all, the maestro, all these various things. But I'm going to tell you, in January of 2023, I heard the voice of God. I didn't need anybody to interpret it for me. I didn't need anybody to tell me what was happening. I quite literally was standing in my shower, and I ended up crying. And I'm talking about like ugly crying. I'm talking about like ugly boo-hoo snot bubble crying. As his voice very clearly said to me, stop running from me. Now, unlike most of the other speakers, I'm not a preacher. I don't pretend to be one. The last time I stood in a pulpit, I was 12 years old. It's the first and only time I got to preach. You know how the growing up Southern Baptists down there in Florida, those ladies that had the revival and they say, I see something in you. You need to get on up here. And I got up and I started talking about how when darkness enters a room, light has to leave. When light enters the room, darkness has to leave. But because of my analytical mind and the fact that I used to read encyclopedias since I started reading, I went into the science of this whole thing, the photons and all this stuff. Yeah. But this journey that I'm on now actually began with women. First of all, I believe every man, every person that you ever meet is shaped by a woman. Every man you ever meet, whether it was his mom, his wife, his girlfriend, the girl that dumped him, the girl that he had a crush on that wouldn't pay him attention, all these different things, right? Every man I've ever met has been shaped by a woman, whether they want to admit it or not. Prior to being a speaker the way that I am now, and prior to opening a restaurant, I was in the military, 21 years as a military policeman. My focus and my emphasis, thank you. My focus and emphasis was on being a domestic violence victim advocate and a suicide interventionist and a sexual assault victim advocate and various things that dealt with very tough subjects, typically dealing with women. Fun fact, it was actually much harder for me to deal with men in the sexual assault realm than women. Well, as a final act, I was sitting at my desk one day, and I decided that I no longer wanted to be in the military. It was done. My career was done. I was bored, and I felt like I wasn't living my purpose. I don't know how many of you are working a job that you're really, really good at, talented at, skilled at, educated in, but no, you hear that voice that this is not your purpose. I absolutely heard that voice. This was not my purpose. But as God would have it, I was sent to Los Angeles to a sexual assault conference. I enter this room, it's 1,500 people. 1,100 of them are women, about 400 men. And all of us are like, okay. And I'll tell you, this journey that I'm on began because I saw a room, a breakout session. I went to this breakout session, misread the label on the door, walked into a room that looked similar to this right here, felt about as nervous as I feel right now, instantly turned around to walk away, and this lady, come on in here. Come on in here. And I'll never forget, she was a short-haired black lady that actually moved the group around in this big circle and made me come sit up front. Pat, pat, pat. And listen, I felt like my grandma was talking to me, and I was just like, yes, ma'am. I went and sat down, and I will tell you that those ladies changed my life. But I'll tell you something else. I changed theirs. I believe in authentic communication. I believe in showing up as you are. I will feed anybody, but I'm not for everybody. You ask me a question, I will give you an answer. You might not like the answer, but you ask the question. If you wanted the answer that you want, then just answer it for yourself. Don't ask me. So I ask you again, how many of you feel that God is trying to tell you something? How many of you have had a voice that you've heard within? How many of you have had that whisper that you have ignored as God is trying to tell you something? I can tell you that standing on the other side of that, this right here today is a dream. I am standing right here, right now, living my dream. And it's funny because Pastor Tina just 2 days ago reminded me as we were standing right there, she goes, you remember you manifested this, right? And I was like, huh? We share a mentor, and while we were there at Tim Story's place, I had shared with her, Tina and I were talking, and I said, one day we're going to share a stage. We're going to share a stage together. And where are we at? I'm standing on her stage. But I have to tell you, I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn, right? And as I am a man. And no man is more stubborn than a woman, I'll tell you that. But anyway, I was waiting on water bottles to start flying up here. Wrong crowd. I'll have a moment of honesty with you, right? As a kid, I was taught that a hard head make a soft behind. Anybody ever heard that? Okay. I heard that voice tell me to do something very, very specific. Stephen Covey's 8th habit of highly effective people is find your voice and help others find theirs. Find your purpose and help others find theirs. I was very popular at the time because I had started this company called Waffles and Whatnot, right? And this thing had started, I went from a sidewalk picnic table to being invited to Facebook and getting inducted into the Facebook Hall of Fame and the Facebook Small Business Council. I had a one-on-one with Sheryl Sandberg. I got to meet Mark Zuckerberg. What you mean find your purpose and help other people find theirs? I'm making waffles, right? I go and I decide I'm going to open a restaurant. I had already had a restaurant in Alaska, but I'm like, it's time to franchise this thing and expand this thing out. Find your voice. Tim Story, when I had sat with him, poked me in the chest. You're powerful. You're powerful. You're going to be one of the most popular speakers out there. You got to get up and stand up. There's that little voice. Find your voice. Help others find theirs. All right? When I met Zena and Chris at a retreat, other people telling me, Derrick, use your voice, man. Help people, empower people, da-da-da-da. I'm going to make waffles. I'm building the next Waffle House. I'm doing this and that and that. This is my mindset. So I go all the way across the country from Alaska, where my other restaurant is, and I go open up down in Orlando, Florida. Show you how God worked. I find this location. I get super excited. It's a mom and pop's place that's already up and running. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna change this over to waffles and whatnot. Raise the capital for that thing, got in there, remodeled it, renovated it, turned it into waffles and whatnot, sent half the staff up to Alaska, the other half stayed down with me, trained them, got them all ready to go. The community came out to support. That town, which was, this town is a special town in Florida, but the diversity that I created around there was beautiful. You just see this sea of magical colors and beautiful people from all over that came because they got to see me on TV. A lot of people that saw me on TV, whether it was Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives or Guys Grocery Games, or they read about me in USA Today or Entrepreneur Magazine, a lot of people heard about me, so they wanted to come and experience this thing, and they came, and it was beautiful. I was so proud. I invited my family. I had people driving in from all across the U.S. coming in and eating, and it was beautiful. I had people drive from North Carolina down to Orlando to come eat my food, right? Amazing. Show you how God worked, though. It's that voice. Find your voice and help others find theirs. Find your purpose and help others find theirs. Stop running from me. So after I get everything up and running, everything operational, everything is good to go, God goes, okay, that's cool. Your family got to see it? That's cute. Let me put a lock on that door. Let me have this guy sue you and evict you out of that building, and let me never let you step foot back into that building again. Let me take all of that equipment, all of that stuff, everything that you built, and hand it to somebody else. A hard head makes a soft behind. Have any of you ever failed? Have any of you ever failed? Have any of you ever failed spectacularly, publicly, and spectacularly? Yeah, that was me. Listen, there's a voice that I feel all people actually hear it. A lot of people ignore it. And this voice whispers to you. I felt for the longest time that I could hear something just out of earshot. But I didn't learn how to focus to learn and get back to what is this thing saying to me? What is this thing saying to me? And I allowed all of the life's distractions to keep me away from that little voice. And that's the amazing thing. What I discovered was that voice was the voice of my dreams. The voice of my dreams, which I am now standing on this stage. If I'm one of those human beings, quite literally, if I drop dead after I fall off this stage today, I'm happy and content. I don't want to see a single tear or hear about a single tear being shed for me. I want y'all celebrating like they were doing in that song, saying that dude lived his dreams, right? Your dreams are like children. I would argue that your dreams are the children of God. They are seeds implanted into the soil of your mind. The choice is yours as to whether or not you water and fertilize these seeds, or do you just ignore them? Do you just ignore them like that person that walks out to the garden and takes a pack of seeds and just throws them on the ground and expects something to happen, right? Or do you baby your dreams? Do you actually take care of your dreams, literally as you would a child? Because your dreams will not abandon you. They never do. Your dreams don't actually have to die after you do, but we'll get to that. I started studying successful people on this journey that I'm on now. I wanted to learn, okay, find your voice, help other people find theirs. What exactly does that mean? That begins with find your voice, find your purpose, find your significance. What am I here on this earth to do? As I studied successful people, whether they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, silver spoon, or whether they were hand-fed and had to go dig in the dirt or catch their own food, like often we had to do growing up in Fort Pierce, Florida, I discovered something. Successful people never give up on their dreams. They don't give up on their dreams. The only things that I could find that were common amongst all successful people is that they decided to listen to that voice they went after it, and once they found what that dream was, or they connected with that voice, they never let it go. It was always there. It was there through the divorces. It was there through the bankruptcies. It was there through the foreclosures. It was there through the abuses, through the empty bank accounts, the negative bank accounts, the bill collectors calling, all these various things. The wealthy people that I have studied, and I have sat with billionaires that at one point were sleeping in their car, but they had a dream, and they decided to focus on that dream and to not give up on that dream, and they didn't let those obstacles overwhelm them. I don't know a single person in my life that hasn't felt overwhelmed. Any of y'all ever felt overwhelmed? Some of y'all sitting in here right now feeling overwhelmed. And I understand how difficult it can be when life is overwhelming you, especially in this room with all you powerful queens. Y'all have kids that are calling you and bugging you. You have the needs of your husband or spouse. It is 2024. I'll just say spouse. Keep it neutral, right? Y'all have that boss that's on your last nerve. You have that coworker that missed that deadline. You have the bill collectors calling. You have, as my wife did at 33 years old, that one day where you feel a lump in your breast that wasn't there before, and you go to get it checked out, and 72 hours later, you don't have breasts anymore, and you're struggling to identify whether or not you're still a woman because all of your reproductive systems have been removed out of you. I don't have to deal with that. You guys do. I can understand how sometimes life can overwhelm you. And when life is overwhelming you, you ignore those dreams. That's what tends to happen. There are obstacles that happen in life, I feel, that God puts in your way. Some of them. But by and large, most of them are man-made. Whether you want to admit it or not, they are. If you allow your kids to distract you from your dream, right? If you allow your bills or your debt to distract you from your dreams, right? That's man-made. The question becomes, to you guys, what excuse is good enough? That's the question I have. What excuse is good enough? Because sitting in this room, being raised by the women of my life, my dad was in prison since I was a little boy. What I came to understand is that no excuse was good enough, right? If I brought home bad grades, mama didn't accept that. If she told me to do them chores, do them dishes, and I didn't do it, oh, there was hell to pay. She didn't accept that. Oh, no, right? If she told me to do X, Y, Z, and I decided to do A, B, C, there were consequences. Yet, I find most people walk around ignoring the dreams and the dictates that God gave them and expecting that they're just going to be excused. That whatever reason, for whatever reason, they're not pursuing their purpose, that it's just going to be forgiven. These same people that would not accept excuses from anybody else allow themselves to have excuses. Not saying that's anybody in this room. I wouldn't do that. Mama taught me better. But just saying, if that does apply to somebody you know, maybe it's time to start looking and saying, you know what? It's time that I live on purpose, for a purpose. Maybe it's time I discover my purpose. Maybe it's time I let go of the fact that I was trained as an accountant, but my dream is actually over here. This is what I feel like I should be doing. This is what I want to do. This is what I've wanted to do since I was a teenage girl. Since I was in my mid-20s, this is the thing that I've wanted to do. Because how do you know that thing that you're ignoring over there, you're not going to become the next thing that spawns the next greatest whatever? See, dreams are like children. They are unique. They are implanted in your mind. And I don't care who's in this room. You can try as much as you can to tell me about your dream, but it's trapped in here, and you're limited by the words. You're limited by your vocabulary. You're limited by your ability to communicate what your dream actually is. But you have it inside of you, which is why it's mandatory that you're the one that brings your dream to life. You're the only person on this planet that can bring the dream to life, and it was gifted to you. That's your job, not mine. However, what I find is that a lot of people don't know how to bring their dreams to life. They don't know how to go after their purpose. And it's easy to stand up and for me to say, go after your purpose, go after your purpose, go after your purpose. But how do you go after your purpose? How do you learn to focus? When I opened a restaurant before, where's Jesse? Sorry, my prop manager is going to help me out. When I opened a restaurant before, right, I had this angel that came along. He used to be my general in the military. This thing was doing amazing up in Alaska. And he says to me, he goes, Derrick, you got to focus. And in my mind, my cocky little soldier mind, I'm like, what? What do you mean I got to focus? Now, of course, in his face, I was all like, thank you. His face, I was all like, yeah, focus, got it. Roger that, right? But in my mind, I remember specifically saying, well, you're telling me to pick one thing. I did pick one thing. I said I'm going to make waffles. And I'm going to turn this thing into a national franchise. I'm going to blow it up huge, blah, 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 blah. And don't tell me to focus. Elon Musk has the Boring Company, Tesla, SpaceX, did PayPal, blah, 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 blah. And he has time to name his kids some bunch of letters in a math equation that nobody can name, right? So if Elon did it, I can do it. This was my mentality. I'll tell you that after I closed the doors on that restaurant, with tears in my eyes, hear that failure again? As I closed the doors on that restaurant with the tears in my eyes, I sat in my own muck, call it, for about 3 months, self-pity, trying to figure out what happened, where did I go wrong, where did I go wrong? This little voice that's whispering. And I had to sit. This is where I came up with something called pick a pigeon. Pick a pigeon, my mentor sat me down and he said, Derrick, you're one of the most creative beings. You have all these amazing life experiences. You have all these amazing thoughts and ideas, and any of them can change the world. Your problem is that they're each like pigeons, and you're a hungry falcon. And you keep going up after the entire flock, and therefore you miss them all. You have to learn how to pick a pigeon, go kill that one, eat it, and then go up after the next one. Once he broke it down for me like that, I turned that into this whole thing. He had unknowingly given me a purpose in life, right? He had given me or helped me connect with my voice. What I discovered is that we are each vessels. We're each vessels. Every single one of us sitting out here is a vessel, right? The thing is, a vessel is most useful when it's empty. You see, this is just a cup. I can put anything I want into this cup. I can put water in there for you. I can pour juice in there for you. I can pour coffee in there for you if it's cold, right? I could even put some water in here or some soil, slice a potato in half with some toothpicks, and grow a potato out of this thing. Somebody can cut this in a special way and make a rope out of it, right? It's just an empty vessel. Once I put something in it, though, I change what it is. We're all vessels. However, we have these life experiences. You see, before I was 17 years old, before I went to the military, I had already been raped. I had been molested. I witnessed domestic violence, substance abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, criminal neglect, left fatherless, witnessing murders, witnessing suicides, lost my grandmother and my sister to murder. And every one of those things were things added to my cup. Every single one of you has stuff that's been added to your cup. What I do now is try and help people understand what's in their cup and how they can take those things, those experiences from their life that's in their cup and turn those into the ingredients for the sauce of their life. And I want to help you guys make the most amazing sauce that you're capable of making, keeping in mind that your sauce will not be for everybody. Feed it to anybody. Understand it's not for everybody. And be okay with that. I learned as I'm talking about being raped, as I'm talking about molestation, as I'm talking about being abandoned, as I'm talking about dealing with feeling like I wasn't worthy of love, all that stuff was added into my cup. It's in there. It's ingrained. Some of you have some of those same childhood experiences. I learned that as my wife was battling cancer, the things that she was saying to me, the things that we went through, were all things added to my cup. The things that were happening in the community, the traumas of sitting in an oncology clinic and watching women pass away. As my wife battled for 6 years, I can't tell you how many women I saw disappear, how many kids were crying. Watching cancers develop in 23-year-old women is a crazy thing. I also learned that I had the love of my kids, that I had people in the community that valued who I was, that I had successes in business, that things weren't just a failure, right? All these things exist in the cup, and they exist in your cup. I ask each of you now, you have a sauce container in front of you. Please open it and just dip your finger in there. Some of y'all skipped ahead. If there's nothing else that I leave you guys with, I want to tell you that my name is Derrick Green. My name doesn't matter. My purpose does. What I do in life is I help people take the experiences of their life, figure out how to turn those into ingredients that becomes the sauce of their life. Some of y'all will make sauce. Some of y'all will bake a cookie. I don't know. Let's make a cake together. But it's taking those experiences that are holding you back or that you have not learned to purpose in the right way. You've heard so many times people say, as Coach Burt says, everybody needs a coach. That's all this is. Some of you are quite literally one decision away from changing your life forever. Amen. The problem is that you don't see the experiences of your life in the way that somebody that stands outside of your life can see that. Any of those experiences that you've had, Oprah was raped, right? Tyler Perry lived in a car. Tony Robbins went through child abuse as a kid. And each of those people use those things as ingredients for the sauce of their life. But they had coaches. They had mentors. That is going to be my time. I will tell you guys that if any of you feel like you're ready to actually take the experiences of your life and to turn that into the sauce of your life, my name is Derrick Green, and I'll be standing right over there at that minimalist table, ready to help you guys. Thank you for your time.
Give it up for Derrick Green. Pick a pigeon. What a beautiful concept. And, you know, when you think about the